Hello, this is Mr. Molo for solving absolute value inequalities. Remember, these lessons are going to be all spread out throughout the book, but they are tested for 8th grade MCAs, so we're going to go through them. So remember, your homework will kind of bounce around a little bit. But last time we did solving absolute value equations. Now it's inequalities. So remember, if I have something like this, absolute value of x equals 2, that means I really have two answers. I have 2 and negative 2. When I have something like this, absolute value of x is less than 2, well, that means I have lots of answers because there's lots of numbers that are less than 2, and then especially with the absolute value of them. So remember, really the only difference between this lesson and last lesson is that sign. You'll kind of see that as we do some example problems. You'll see when I have something like this, so absolute value of x is less than 5, that means that my number could be greater than negative 5. And I'll kind of show you what that means when we're doing the problem. But because there's usually two answers with absolute value, it could be the opposite of that negative then as well. And then you'll kind of see kind of the same thing when you graph. So it's going to be like that compound inequality graph. You're going to have two points to graph this time. So if I have something like this, absolute value of x plus 2 is less than 6. So same thing, I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. So I'm going to get absolute value of x is less than 4. And then my other answer, I'm going to flip that sign, and I'm going to get absolute value of x is greater than negative 4. So once I get that absolute value by itself, I flip the sign and I figure out my two answers. So these are going to be my two answers. And then we could pick a number to test this out to kind of see and make sure it's true. So a number less than 4, so like 2. So if I plug in 2 for x, so absolute value of 2 is 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 is less than 6. I can also try it out here. I need a number bigger than negative 4. So if I have a number bigger than negative 4, like let's say negative 1, absolute value of negative 1 is positive 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 is less than 6. And then kind of the same thing when I graph. So let's graph this one first. So x is less than 4. So there's my 4. It's an open circle because it's just less than. And numbers less than 4 are going to be going that way. Okay, let's switch this up and do the greater one in red. So x is greater than negative 4. So here's negative 4. Again, another open circle because it's just greater than. Numbers greater than negative 4 go to the right. So that means my answer for this solution is anywhere here in the middle. So between negative 4 and 4. Let's do another one. So kind of the same thing here. I have absolute value of x minus 5. So I'm going to add 5 to both. We'll do this one in red. So I have absolute value of x is less than or equal to a positive 1. Okay, and then I'm going to flip my sign. So I have x is then greater than or equal to a negative 1. So I flip my sign and my answer. So that means, again, my answer is anything between positive 1, could be greater than or equal to, and anything negative 1, which really doesn't leave us a lot of options because that means it's pretty much 0. So 2 graphs, 2 answers for these absolute value. So you'll see these problems are all ones that are going towards each other, and that's always going to happen with these less than signs. So you'll kind of see less than sign, they're going to go towards each other. That's kind of what this is talking about. So when the sign involves a less than sign, they're going to go towards each other. You'll see if we do one that has a greater than sign, they're going to end up going away from each other. Okay, so less than towards, greater than away. We'll come up with some kind of rhyme for that in class. So here, I already did this problem. So it says plus 2, so I'm going to minus 2. So I end up with x is bigger than 5. And then I'll flip it, and x is less than negative 5. Here's an example of those numbers going away from each other. Let's do another one. So it's a minus 12, so I'm going to add 12. Add 12, so I have x is bigger than or equal to positive 4. And then I'm going to flip that, so x is less than or equal to negative 4. And then when I go to graph these, I want a number bigger than positive 4, so that means I'm going to the right, so like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all those numbers are bigger than 4. And numbers less than negative 4, like negative 5, negative 6, negative 7, negative 8, negative 9, negative 10. So that one's going to the left. So remember, those two rules will hopefully help us a lot, so that if it's a greater than, they're going away from each other. If it is a less than, they are going towards each other.